Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Ms. Marvel, Destined. And I was very on this episode. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but holy shitbirds, we get a lot of plot dumping and just finger snap turning on shit. And it's really kind of weird that I'm more into everybody around Kamala except her, which is really kind of weird. I do like the idea of, like, okay, this is a hero fan inspired by, like, an Avenger, but we don't really get into why she likes Captain Marvel so much. Like, it's really kind of strange that I really liked Hawkeye and I liked Kate Bishop because we get an idea of who she is. We understand that she was saved by Hawkeye during the Battle of New York. So we understand why she went into archery, what she kind of does, and I can really kind of connect with her on that. So, like, the uber fan aspect, I get. But it's just mainly a lot of shit happening to her rather than her kind of, like, choosing certain things to happen. Like, I don't mind that, like, an outside force comes in and be like, hey, you motherfucker, and then she's got to kind of deal with that. You know what I mean? But it just seems that she's very passive within her own kind of story, and I'm like, alright, because I see Bruno doing stuff, I see Nakia do some stuff, I see her dad doing stuff, I see her mom doing stuff, I see her brother doing stuff. It's like, alright, and it's really weird that I'm more into the side characters than the actual main character. That really hasn't happened to me before. Now, granted, usually if I'm not that much into a main character, most of the side characters don't really save it for me. However, with this, it kind of does because it's dealing with aspects that I would rather more actually kind of see. It's really kind of weird because I would almost be like, hey, Nakia, you... I'd almost be following her more around because they're doing more of the kind of stuff that would be more interesting with her. So we start off with a complete and utter just plot dump. And we get the explanation of what's going on with Kamala. Now, granted, this kind of ties her more into Doctor Strange kind of realm than the Inhumans. Like, I understand that the Inhumans face-planted. However, you have to understand that you can have a property kind of fail and then try and retool it. You know what I mean? I mean, shit. I didn't expect them to do an actual good version of Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, using the same actor from that TV show. I mean, I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes of that and I'm like, what the fuck's going on with this? And then went out. But we start in 1942, like during the partitioning, and we see Cameron's mom and Aisha, Kamala's great-grandmother. And evidently they're looking for this bangle thing to get them home. It's like, alright, why are you exiled here? What the fuck? Okay, and I guess only one will work, and then they kind of like split up, and that was kind of the end of it. And then we see that these kind of people are like joking about and everything, and then Cameron's like, no, everyone here is kind of like older, he's the only teenager here. He's like, okay, that would have been awkward. I'm like, yes, it fucking would have been. And then they're joking around and ragging on his ass, and then his mom takes Kamala out and be like, alright, here, the thing is, you've got something kind of similar in us. We are from the Nor Dimension, we're the clandestines, and we'd mostly be known as Jinn. And I'm like, okay. And then throughout the rest of the episode, they do stuff that, like, doesn't even register on the fact of, like, them being Jinn. Like, I'm not that well versed in the lore of the Jinn. Right? You can do a lot of different kind of stuff. I know there's, like, this movie where it's, like, a wish kind of crazy-ass thing from, like, a demon kind of hell dimension. We got the stuff in Supernatural where they kind of, like, eat on kind of, like, dreams and shit like that. So I know there's a lot of different kind of stuff. And, we could learn about that stuff, and the thing is, they want to go home. They were exiled here. I'm like, why were you exiled? We never really kind of find that out yet. Hopefully we do, because this is pretty much the setting up of the antagonistic force. because it's set up here and then it's executed in here as well. It's like, all right, pacing. We gotta like fuck that. And like, all right, we kind of need you to use the bangle to kind of send us home, even though they were trying to like look for two or whatnot. She's like, all right, let me kind of figure out what's kind of going on with this. And then she kind of goes, talks to Bruno about it. It's like, interdimensional trap. It's crazy. Like, I don't need her to be the smartest kind of person. I do like that she's got her tech support, but he is becoming all kind of support. Like, she fucks around with her powers and does that kind of shit. I get that. Cool. But she goes to him. She's like, I'm a Jinn. Like, the things that I feared or whatnot. And he's like, okay. So, interdimensional travel, depending upon what's needed, you usually need the power of kind of like a sun or whatnot. And the margin of error is like, if you don't do this right, shit blows up. And it's like, yeah, that's why you gotta be careful with that. Also, that's usually the kind of realm that like Doctor Strange kind of fucks around with, because multiverse and all that kind of shit going on. Incursions and all that shit. And she's just trying to figure out what's going on. It's like, alright, I'll just tell him I need a couple days to kind of figure this out. And he's like, I'm going to Caltech. I got that kind of stuff, but let me help you out with this and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, why are you telling me this now? It's like, I don't know. It's a really kind of big thing for him. And he likes you, obviously, and he wants to help you out with his shit. So he's like, all right, let me look into it. I read a paper on Selvig. I'm like, oh my god. Like, I put this more, not that it's more plot demanding and convenience. I do think that the kid would probably be looking into that certain kind of shit. However, it's just like you only have 6 episodes, so that severely means that your pace has to go fuck fast as shit to get things done. So it's like, alright, yeah, of course you read a Selvig thing, so you're gonna just kind of look into some kind of shit and all that. So then we also get, let's see, let me hit these 2 things first. We see Nakia and the head guy at the mosque, the Imam, I believe. What the fuck is this? No. Yeah. Imam. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But they're pretty much getting through with like the board election kind of thing, and then of course damage control's coming in and like, hey, can we search the place? And of course they don't have a search warrant, and Nakia hits him on that. It's like, yeah, I mean, the fuck, like, you have no probable cause, you've got no like, hey, this person could potentially be here. I mean, nothing. It's like, let's just search this place. It's like, there's no due process, and they're rightfully hit on that. It's like, well, this would go better if you cooperate. It's like, dude, I don't even, like, you could find whatever the fuck, like, it's not like, hey, we kind of pinpointed this person is here at this mosque or worships here. It's like, they don't even have anything on Kamala whatsoever. Like, alright, if you're going for bumbling organization, this is definitely it. Like, they got nothing to kind of, like, go on anything. So them hitting them, I'm like, yep. Definitely there. And then hits them with, like, next time take off your shoes kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you kind of want to know how a place kind of works out, you know? Then we pretty much focus on Kamala's brother having his wedding and stuff. We get, like, her mom talking with one of the aunties, being like, oh yeah, she doesn't give me any trouble or anything. It's like, yeah, there's everybody lying and shit. They hide her brother's shoes, too. You just have to hide one pair or whatnot. It's really weird. I definitely identify with the brother, especially since I'm an older brother. And, now granted, I usually have a better relationship with my sister, but there is that adversarial aspect that I think is interesting that they put in there. We did see that Kamala was, like, trying to, like, bandage her knee and everything like that. Her mom's like, oh, it's okay. Telling about like how she came to America and like she didn't really speak English very well and all the kind of hardships and everything, and that she'd find her own way kind of stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. But then they're doing the whole kind of wedding kind of stuff. Bruno's pretty much trying to figure out stuff. He's actually got, like, I swear to God, the just like clunkiness of this execution wise. He's like working at the place and he's got stuff on Jin, and it's in Urdu, and it's like, oh, okay, he pretty much her father came in to pretty much buy like a snack pie, kind of like McDonald's thing. He's like, I just like the syntheticness of it. She won't let me have it, but whatever. And then he's like, all right, let me help you with this, and then reads him pretty much the stuff that like the other people fucking like info dumps. It's like, oh yeah, Jin, they have all these different kind of stuff, and there's all this different kind of lore. And it's like, really? And it was really kind of strange. I'm like, Bruno, why would you? If you're trying to research them, I mean, granted, if you know Urdu, that's cool. You know what I mean? And you can like get through it and translate it. It's just like, okay, all right. So we get the whole wedding kind of bit. So it was interesting to see a Muslim wedding thing going on. We get a kind of Bollywood kind of thing going on, which I think you could equate to like if somebody decided to do kind of like line dancing kind of shit at another kind of wedding, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you got your dance numbers and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, this is interesting. Seeing them like bump heads together, see the actual wedding thing occur as they say it 3 times, which was actually kind of interesting. Like, granted, I can understand belaboring a point, but it speaks to my inner nerd of like the rule of 3 for video games kind of shit that kind of works out. But 3's a like a powerful kind of number and vast different kind of thing. So seeing that go was like kind of cool. I'm like, all right, interesting. And we see that he was having like pre-wedding jitters as he was talking with his mom. I was like, yeah, I only have like a little over $700, and talking about how like you could either live life in fear or in love, and you choose family and everything, and it's kind of cool. And it's really kind of weird because we just see that like Kamala's kind of like watching the scene, and that's the only reason we're seeing the scene is that she's watching the scene. It's like, all right. So they're doing the whole kind of wedding bit and everything, and then Cameron's like, yeah, take your time and everything. And then his mother finds out, like, fuck that shit, we're gonna do this shit now. It's like, what? But like, what are you gonna do? Like, she doesn't even know how the fuck this thing works to even try and send you home, and she's like, we're gonna force her to do it now. It's like, she promised to help you. You gave no timetable reference whatsoever. It's not it. You have not said that you're going to plop down and die. That you've got a time frame kind of reference kind of thing that you gotta get home before fucking dinner or whatnot. So her just heel turning like that was just like, all right, whatever, fuck this shit. So they're all jigging. We got Bruno in there too. We also had seen that Nakia was like talking to Kamala, and it was like, yeah, I got on the board, and it was like Kamala was going to tell her about this stuff, but she's like, nah, okay, because she was venting about the whole damage control people coming in and all that. And Kamala's not fucking listening. It's like, wow, you are not really a good friend. Like, she's not really listening to her friend. I understand she sees all this stuff on the internet about, like, Nightlight and everything like that. And she's like, that's a really stupid name. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. And I'm just like, wow, you're not listening to your friend, and you're not listening to your other friend. And I'm like, all right, I get that you got powers, and you kind of have to figure out what you're kind of doing with it. But I'm like, what the fuck, man? So they're doing that, and then Cameron comes and is like, hey, yeah, the Jinn people, they're coming, and they're going to kill everybody, so get everybody out. And then she's like, all right, cool. Fire alarms, that son of a bitch. Her brother goes to get the money, and we do see, unfortunately, the wedding cake get fucking screwed. Whenever I see a wedding and I see a wedding cake get taken out, I'm like, damn, that looked like some good-ass cake. Right. Well, they come in, and they are essentially the equivalent of super soldiers with weird weapons that pop up out of nowhere. That's it. I'm like, I understand to a certain degree why people would be like, all right, like, if they had modeled this shit after the Eternals, like, them starting a Jinn legend because of, like, all the different kind of powers that they've got, yeah, I can understand being afraid of them, but, like, this really reeked of, like, we don't have that much budget, so we can't really give them any kind of uber powers or, like, even kind of give the illusion that they have other kind of shit that Kamala can't even deal with. And the thing is, it's really kind of hard because Kamala does have powers, but she's not trained into any kind of combat situations yet. So they had to kind of figure out kind of more creative ways to kind of prolong this whole kind of deal. Because by rights, these are like ancient warrior kind of people that are like, take us back home. We're going to beat the shit out of you. You don't pretty much, and like kill whoever you love pretty much to make sure you do what we do. And it's like, Um, like, I don't fault her for trying to, like fight or whatnot, but I'm like, you've been at this for, like, granted, I've been watching 3 episodes. I timed this about, like, a couple weeks. You'd be in some deep shit. So, she's able to kind of, like, utilize her powers, utilize her, like, big kind of punch and whatnot. Bruno tries to help her out and gets fucking pooped on. We see that Cameron does his shit to try and, like, help out, but he gets fucking shit on. Like, mad shit on in this episode. Like, your mom goes fucking nutty ass crazy and, like, I'm gonna kill some motherfuckers. And then you try to stop her ass to make sure you're like, hey, this person that I just met that I might have feelings for or whatnot is trying to help us, and you're attempting to murder her. Well, like, not her, but, like, people around her. So, can we not? And then just shit on. Fuck. We see her utilizing her powers kind of interesting. Like, I do give him kind of creative chops for, like, her using her kind of, like, hard light shields and all that kind of shit. And, like, Pustin, like, getting underneath certain things in this kitchen kind of scenario. But then we see that Cameron is pretty much able to do enough kind of, like, interference before he gets fucking slammed on the floor, and the damage control just pops in out of nowhere, and it's just like, hey, okay, yeah, you're all under arrest. It's like, alright, and they even arrest Cameron. I'm like, he got knocked the fuck out, and that man was on top of him. I can understand asking him to come with you for questioning, but I'm like, alright, fine, fuck it. Like, but Kamala and Bruno were able to kind of, like, shoot off, and then, and during one of these fight scenes, his mom clasped onto her thing or was trying to use something, and we see a training that had, like, Karachi on it. I'm like, alright, because that's in Pakistan, and we see that I need that for later. So Kamala and Bruno kind of get out. Nakia's like, what the fuck's going on? You're night late? What the hell? Why didn't you tell me? And then she's like, listen, I don't know. Shit's going real. Take care of Bruno. I gotta fucking bounce. And then, of course, she gets home, and she's like, the mom and dad are like, can you tell us what's going on? And I'm like, listen, I get that, like, talking about Jin and all that kind of shit, and, like, your mom and all that kind of shit, like, you're, like, to your mom about, like, your great-grandma or whatnot, would be fucking nutty, but she doesn't tell them. I'm like, alright, why? I mean, understandably, you're trying to make sure that they're protected. However, these motherfuckers already came after them at a wedding. I would think being like, listen, these motherfuckers that came after you, they're gonna be kind of like this. This is the kind of information I got. I know it's kind of fucking freaky, but we kind of have to know this shit. Like, I understand the, like, trying to separate the superheroes and their, like, personas and all that shit, but it's like, these crazy, enhanced individuals popped up at your brother's wedding, tried to kill some motherfuckers. Alright? They fucking took out the cake too, man. That ain't cool. That ain't cool. So then she goes up to her room and she gets a call from Grandma, and she's like, hey, yo, you gotta get to Karachi. Why? Because you saw the fucking vision of the train. How'd you see that? Fuck if I know. I'm like, alright, hopefully that gets some explanation, but up until this point, that's not looking good. And that's kind of where it ends. It's like, alright, how the fuck is she gonna get there? I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, granted, the way this is going, I almost expect that she'd go down to her mom and like, hey, can we go to Pakistan? Can we go to Karachi? It's like, sure, Kamala. I mean, because we've only gotten to the place that she fucked up the AvengerCon thing, but she let her go to the other party. So she fucked up the wedding, so she's going to let her go to another country to visit her grandma. I don't know. I don't fucking know, man. It's just, I want to like it. I think that there's potential. But, goddamn, the writing, the direction, I mean, at least the action scenes were somewhat decent. Like, they didn't use a lot of it to showcase a lot of characters' moments and development of who people are with their fighting style. Excuse me. But it was at least decent enough. Otherwise, I'm just like, okay. Now I'm almost getting to a point where I'm pick and choose certain kind of things to watch. Now, granted, I was just like, alright, let's see how this goes. And it's just not been working for me so far. It's not the worst thing that I've seen. WandaVision had worse kind of problems that I was seeing, but it's This is not working out to be like one of the ones that I'd be like, hey, definitely watch it. I'd go watch Loki, watch Hawkeye. This would probably be put until this is finished out. At this point, I would put this at more the neutral kind of shit of what's going on, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier went kind of nutty doo-dah, and then WandaVision I put bottom. Yes. And we'll see how She-Hulk does, but what I'm really getting out of this is these are people that know how to make movies trying to chop up a movie into a TV show, and that's not working out well. I'm not saying that people that make movies can't make TV shows, but you have to understand the mindset of how to make a TV show. Alright? Because sometimes that means you need more episodes than 6, or sometimes you can do something in 6. If you know how to write for it, and you know how to direct for it, and you know how to, like, get everybody to do what you need to do. Because here's the thing. You need to make sure your pacing's on point. Because you have more time, but not as much time as you think you do when you are doing a TV show. Like, you have to watch out with how much you condense certain shit and, like, what other kind of filler shit you throw in. You might think I got 6 hours to do this shit. But if you're fucking off for, like, half of that time with something that isn't really going to help your plot and kind of slows shit down to the point that you got to ramp it up to be like, hey, look at this. I'm just going to take this steamy ass plot dump right in episode 3, so that way you know who these people are and who are the antagonists now. In episode 3, it kind of gives you whiplash because you're like, hey, I'm going to help you. Alright, it's going to take a little bit more time. We don't have that time. Why don't you have that time? Fuck it. We're halfway through this thing, so we got to do this now. You know what I mean? So, we'll have to see how the rest of these shows figure out. Oh, wait, I forgot Moon Knight. Moon Knight before Ms. Marvel at this point. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to see how the Marvel shows continue going. And that's me as a Marvel fan. And if you like this show, I don't want to take that from you. Okay? I want you to enjoy it. Alright? I just want you to have better. Know what I mean? So we'll see how this goes. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.